Welcome back. Seattle has become the first city in the United States to ban discrimination based on caste. The ordinance was passed after Seattle City Council voted 6-1. The amendment was made to existing anti-discrimination provisions. The resolution was proposed by the only Indian American on the panel, Shama Sawant, and the law is intended to stop, quote, invisible and unaddressed form of discrimination. Now, this has sparked a massive debate with one section of Indian Americans claiming that the law itself is inherently discriminatory because unlike other categories, it singles out the South Asian community as requiring special monitoring. Here is more on what this law is and why it is significant. First, it is significant because it's the first such kind anti-caste bias law passed by any city in the US. It is an amendment made to the existing anti-discrimination provisions. It bans caste-based discrimination at workplace. No bias is allowed for hiring, tenure, promotion or wages. There is a ban now on caste-based discrimination at public accommodation, and no such discrimination will be allowed as far as property matters are concerned. Now, the Indian American community is largely up in arms with this because they believe this could be the start of more such actions in other cities. First, though, this is what Shama Sawant has said defending the act. She says ordinance doesn't single out one community. Fight is against all forms of oppression. Discrimination is faced by South Asian Americans. Caste discrimination, she says, is a serious issue in the US, but others disagree and vehemently so. For example, Pushpita Prasad from the Coalition of Hindus of North America says, this law maligns a specific community, that is South Asians. It advances bigotry against this community. This move is to target the larger South Asian diaspora, and there's blatant singling out of a minority community. Furthermore, and this is important, she also says that this law is based on faulty data from hate groups. Sarah Nelson was the only Seattle City Council member who objected to this move, and she said this could generate more anti-Hindu discrimination and could also dissuade employers from hiring South Asians. And remember, Seattle is a big hub for many Indians working there. Sameer Kalra is MD, Hindu American Foundation. He said Seattle has taken a dangerous misstep here, institutionalizing bias against all South Asians. Instead of protecting, they are violating. And some believe that this new provision actually goes against the ethos of the American laws on discrimination. How large is the Indian population in the USA? US is second most popular destination amongst Indians. 206,000 Indians lived in the United States in 1980, but by 2021, the Indian diaspora in the US has grown to 2.1 million. In Seattle, though, Indians were only 0.8% of the total population according to a data in 2010. Even now, the estimates suggest Indians are less than 2% of the population in this city. The big question we're asking, with guests joining us in just a bit, is this law really for protection or is it plain politics? Let's go across to the guest joining us. Aarti Agarwal is author and researcher in India. Dr. Karthik Navayan is lawyer and activist for the Dalit community. And Dr. Lavanya Vemsani, professor at the Shawnee State University in Ohio, is joining us. Dr. Lavanya, I want to begin with you. When a large number of especially Hindu organizations in the US object to this law that has been passed by one city alone, the question naturally that will arise is why? Why do you believe this is such a big problem, this law?
Thank you for inviting me. It is a problem because it labels one small minority group. Anytime labeling a small minority group would affect everybody that belongs to that minority group. Look at this like this. Okay, there is a burning house and two brothers are sitting inside. If both brothers run outside and shout, he started, nobody is going to help them. The house is going to burn. It's the same way. The whole community is going to be labeled as caste-based and all this. And when there is an issue, all the Indians, all the South Asians would be attacked. It's not one person because there is no way to identify to which caste or which group one belongs to other than the person himself. So how are the others going to know? There is less than 2% of the population, very small minority of population, which is being labeled as casteist because of this. And how are the outsiders going to know? all they are going to think is all of these people are casteist. And in a broader sense, it's going to affect the whole community as something that has a malady.
So you're saying this puts a stigma,
which is not prepared for modernity.
So you're saying it puts a stigma on the entire Indian American community. But my second question to you before I open this up is that if there is, for example, any caste discrimination, even if it's little, even if it's 4 or 5 cases amongst the Indian American community, for example, in this city, in Seattle, what is the problem in identifying that and acknowledging that?
American law has adequate provisions to identify any issues and address them. It addresses race, gender, color, and ancestry. So it covers all aspects of issues that can affect a person. So they can be taken care of in any sense. The law is adequate to address all these issues.
Then in what is the need for this?
Putting one group, one small minority group under the label of this is problematic. Some kind of class division is seen in almost all societies, all immigrant communities in America. Even African other nations have some kind of class divisions. There is a problem with that, but that is addressed under these categories: gender, race, ancestry, and color. So why add a new category?
So why? What is your contention?
Only one group.
Dr. Lavanya, what is your contention? Why has this been done? If there was no need, why do you think this has been done?
It is done for political, it looks like a political play, purely political ambition, but it's a self-goal. It's going to affect everybody. That's what I have been saying for a long time. When the problem really starts, it affects everybody. It doesn't ask, somebody is not going to come and ask, what's your caste? It's going to affect everybody.
And many people,
a small group of Indian or South Asian community thinks this is helpful, but this is going to affect everybody adversely in the long run, because it's going to identify everyone belonging to this small minority, 1% or less than 1% in most areas, and 2% in 2 or 3 states. It's going to affect everybody. When they're in a small minority, the point is they have to come together to work together to resolve the issues.
Can I just intervene now? Dr. Lavanya, I just want to go across to a couple of our other guests to just take their view, then I'll come back to you. Dr. Karthik, for example, a member of the Ambedkar Phule Network of American Dalits and Bahujans has reacted to this new provision as ill-intended and rushed. In fact, this person believes, who also works for Bahujans, is that this is traumatizing to witness that a propaganda which is no less than a war on Dalits makes this far with no data and with a fraudulent survey, while the real Dalit Bahujan voices continue to go unheard. This is what a lot of people are also fearing, that you've made such a big deal out of this, but actually it wouldn't benefit the people that it claims to intend to benefit. This could actually deepen divides and fissures. What do you think?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Karthik.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So I would like to tell that it is not a problem, it is a solution. The Seattle is showing a way now. So caste has to be recognized. All forms of discrimination has to be recognized in modern societies. There is no place for any form of discrimination. And whoever opposing it, they might not understand the gravity of the situation, or they wantedly ignore it and continue with it. So that is not the way. If our society is suffering of a problem, a social evil, and it has to be recognized and it has to be prevented. That is the way, and Seattle leading the way, and it should be the way to fight the caste discrimination.
But Dr. Karthik, that Dr. Lavanya, for example, mentioned that there are enough provisions in American laws to begin with, that if you're being discriminated against and you can
See.
show that because of your ancestry, that could include what caste you come from, against an upper caste person, for example, why not use that instead of bringing in this extra element? This almost looks like it is for show.
See, we need a specific problem, needs a specific way of dealing. For example, in Constitution, we outlawed the untouchability. Article 17 banned the untouchability, but still we have in our country we have enacted a Protection of Civil Rights Act, and time past 30 years that is not enough. We have enacted a Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act. We have to update, and there are specific atrocities are taking place, and now the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe communities are proposing amendments to the Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act to include the modern forms of atrocities, which are not covered, which were not there 30 years ago.
I get what you're saying, but we are talking about US and a city like Seattle.
Exactly.
The Indian situation could well be different. What is even the scale of any caste discrimination in America? That is the question that people are asking. There's no legit data on this to justify to say that there is massive caste discrimination in America.
Yeah, there is discrimination in industries, in software, in restaurants, and there are reported cases where the South Asian marginalized communities were discriminated, fired, and demoted. There are specific cases. There are case studies. Based on that only this law is passed. And this law also quotes several incidents and how the United Nations Minority Rapporteur has said. And it is there were cases and authentic data. Otherwise, it is not possible for them to come to a conclusion that there is a caste.
Okay, Dr. Karthik, just hold on. I will quickly go across to Aarti, but I would like Dr. Lavanya to respond to that there are instances and data, which is why the need has arisen. But Aarti, coming to you, what I find interesting from an Indian point of view is, we've had these laws barring discrimination for decades in America, right? We've had these laws for decades in India. For some reason, if you believe a section, those laws are not working. We constantly need to update them. Actually, the fissures in society are deepening instead of blurring. My central question is any of this actually helping us? Today we are so focused on somebody's skin color, their ancestry, their caste, their gender. We're creating more and more micro personalities, identities, that actually we are getting lost in all of this. We are not being able to get away from the evil. We are only intensifying the focus on that evil, and maybe even the evil itself.
Right. So, Shivani, I think you've raised a very pertinent issue here. I'll just give a statistic on that. So, in the Carnegie Endowment report for international peace, so they've taken a survey it's a random survey of more than 1,100, Indian origin people in the US, and less than 47% Hindus in that even identify with their caste, and a much fewer percentage of US born Hindus actually identify with that caste. So, so when we say that, caste is a big issue in the US, firstly, it's like 1%, 2% of the population. And secondly, that even in that 1%, 2%, such a few number are even identifying with that caste. Now, coming to the data, which this gentleman just said, they're using data, that's how they're able to do. I mean, do we have actual legal reported cases of discrimination or attacks based on caste? No, we don't, not in Seattle. Even the Cisco case, which they have cited in this entire proceedings, a lot of the data there is still allegedly fabricated, and there's no judgment on that case till now. And the Equality Labs report, actually there's a selection bias in that data. There is no transparency in that report as to who they have collected data from, what is their sample size like, is that sample size enough to justify their claim? That none of that is actually made public. So they also claim that, they have so much of support and so many people are, rallying behind this cause of Shama Sawant. Now, they say that they have maybe 200 organizations, something supporting it, but more than 113 US-based Hindu organizations have opposed it as well. And thousands of Hindu Americans have actually sent emails opposing the ordinance. And none of this has been addressed or even brought to light by American media or, even the counselor himself or herself. So, a lot of these things are just sounding like a lot of propaganda.
No, but why? So, Aarti, I'll come to that question specifically. Why is this being considered or looked at as anti-Hindu to begin with, or anti-Indian community? Because some are suggesting that the Indian community is so prosperous that this is a way to bring them down.
Right. So just one point I want to mention here, that caste is very much recognized in every religion, be it Muslims, be it Christianity, be it Hindus, you name it. Every religion has caste. So, why is this particular legislation specifically targeting Hindus in America? And that is why we're calling it Hindu-phobic. There is a reason for it. So, let me finish.
Not targeting Hindu religion.
Okay, let me finish.
The legislation quotes all religions, Sikh, Christian, Islam. The legislation quotes all religions. Please read it.
Okay, right. No, but the outcry is being targeted towards the Hindu community. That is my point. The outcry. If you see what Shama Sawant has said, she is constantly talking about the right wingers are saying this, the right wingers are saying that. So the whole, whatever the wording may be in the legislation, the outcry is still targeting the Hindu community in the US, and that is why we are calling it Hindu-phobic.
Okay.
So coming to the deeper point of why they are doing this, it's because
we have to go by the legislation.
Very, prosperous, and they're growing, and the median salary of an Indian American in the US is like double of the median salary of an American born in the US. So that is one thing, and the other part is that I think Dr. Vimsani just said, it's targeting a community to marginalize them. To me, it looks like institutionalization of a bias, which is how the Jim Crow law started in the US. If you look at American history, once it becomes institutionalized, it's very difficult to reverse it.
Okay. I have only about 30 seconds left. Can I give Dr. Lavanya a final word? Dr. 30 seconds only. What about the cases that the other doctor on the panel is mentioning? If there are even one or two cases, why not give some protection to the victims?
There is already adequate protection. I support protecting anybody that is affected, but there is adequate protection. Identifying a small group by saying caste actually targets this caste, stigmatizes the group, the South Asian group. It's anti-India, anti-Hindu legislation. Whatever may be addressed in the legislation, what they are presenting outside in the media is actually targeting Hindus. They are calling Hindus all kinds of names. The legislator herself has called Hindus many things.
Okay.
So this is being used as a tool against the
Hindu community.
So
unfortunately, I have to leave it at that. I'll have to leave it at that. I do thank all of you.
Major Hindu groups and major South Asian.
Okay, I thank all of our guests for joining us. We'll see how this fight by the Hindu groups is taken forward, and we'll follow this very closely. Time for me to wrap up. News Epicenter is up next.